You can't have a successful investor without that investor understanding taxes or having someone on the team that really understands taxes.
This is episode number 35 of Short-Term Rental Success Stories podcast. Are you an investor that's looking to have your home professionally managed? Go to cohostit.com for more information. Welcome back to Short-Term Rental Success Stories. I'm your host, Julian Sage. This is a show where I talk to hosts about their journeys in starting and growing their short-term rental business. My goal is that you'll be able to walk away with practical information that'll help you become a better host and learn how to scale your business. Like any exceptional host, we all strive for 5-star reviews, so please go on over to iTunes and let us know what you enjoy, as it really helps support the show. If you haven't done so already, go on over to our Facebook group, The Host Nation, to connect with the community. Hey, what is going on, Host Nation? I am excited to be recording this intro from sunny Florida. So I was actually in Florida for my mom's wedding. I was able to pass off that responsibility to this awesome man. And if you guys didn't know, my dad actually passed away about 3 years ago to stage 4 lymph node cancer. So this was a really impactful time to, pass this on to, this new man in my mom's life, who I really care for. I really love. He is such a awesome person. And for those of you that didn't know, I actually got started in the short-term rental space because of my dad. I've been looking for a way to be able to reach financial freedom, and just renting out a basement unit in my house has taken such a big chunk of getting towards that financial freedom. And now also taking on clients is also really impacting. So I know within a short period of time, I am going to be able to reach that place that I was trying to be at, 3 years ago, when I could have spent more time with my dad, where I could have taken him out and created more memories with him. I cherished every moment, but I just wish that I could have done more and been there more. But when you are stuck to a job, when you do have these commitments, when you don't have the financial ability, you're either paying with time or money. And I didn't want to be in that position where I had to pay with time. So that's really what inspired me to start the show and to get into this space, was because I was looking for that way out. I'm not the kind of guy that likes to do things alone though. So I enjoy bringing people along with the ride. And that's what we're really doing with the B&B Empire Builders Mastermind Group, is we're trying to provide as much value as we can to you all. And you know that we provide a lot of value. There's an episode coming out every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I've got 2 full-time people that are helping me, guys, just because I love what I'm doing. I know that there's so much value there, and there's some awesome really people like John Bell, who's helping me on Vacation Rental Machine create that content and be able to make it very easy and digestible for you guys to be able to follow a process to be able to start your own business. And that's really what we are doing, is we're finding ways to be able to provide this type of really systematic approach to building your vacation rental machine, because so many people start things like this wedding. This wedding was started and there wasn't really too many systems or processes in place. And it was really messy, and it was a lot of work and a lot of headaches that didn't have to be there. So that's what we're doing with Vacation Rental Machine, is we're creating these steps and these processes, and we're working with our mastermind members to be able to find out how we can help them at every step of the process. So we have people that are just starting off looking for their first property, people that have their first property, or people that have, multiple properties and are looking to scale. Is that there are systems in place to be able to scale and to be able to grow and to be able to track your progress. And that's really what we're doing in the group, in the mastermind group, is answering those questions, helping people grow. And that's really what our early adopters is. This is going to be closing off within the next week, guys. We are reaching that cap that we were talking about before. And we do want to keep it small initially until we've worked out all the kinks. And then we will be opening it back up, and we will also be raising the price as well. So if you do want to become an early adopter, then go to vacationrentalmachine.com, fill out an application. And I highly recommend that you do this as soon as possible, because we are approaching that cap where we will be closing the doors, and we don't know when we're going to open it up back again until we've really kind of refined our processes. But you guys can spend a lot more one-on-one time with John and I. You can help us be able to grow the group and figure out how we can provide that best value to you. So if that does interest you, go to vacationrentalmachine.com, fill out an application there. You can also go to the site, and if you are looking for co-host contracts, rental arbitrage contracts, you can also go there, because it is our store. There's a lot of really good resources that you can use to be able to help scale and grow your vacation rental, short-term rental business. If you're an investor that is looking to get into the space but doesn't want to be an active manager, then you can also invest in our turnkey Airbnb arbitrage properties. That is a really cool thing that we have just recently started rolling out, and we've gotten a lot of interest from people that are looking to get into this space. If you do want to find out more about turnkey arbitrage properties, then go to cohost.com, fill out an application, and you can find out more information on the site. I want to take a moment to thank all of the veterans that have served, as this past Monday was Veterans Day. And in this episode, I had the special honor of speaking with Alvin Cavalier. Alvin is a super amazing person. He's a full-time active duty Army guy. He's been in service for 18 years. And Alvin's been short-term renting since March of 2018 and is now remotely managing over 24 properties, which are located in 10 different states and 14 different cities. This episode is one of a kind as Alvin walks us through the process of looking for properties that are looking to be rented, creating an attractive offer to homeowners and landlords, setting up the processes to manage your properties and people remotely, structuring your short-term rental business so that you can maximize the tax advantages of the rental arbitrage model, and monetizing on the shared economy. This episode is just jam-packed, and you're going to note that I don't go off of the traditional questions that I usually go off of. Usually there is some type of format where it's like I'll follow a certain amount of questions, but this one was just way off because I was just so interested with Alvin had to share because it is just so unique. There are so many takeaways from this episode that you can start applying to your own vacation rental business. So this is an episode you do not want to miss. If you like my show notes for this episode, go to shorttermsage.com/STR35. Or if you like my show notes sent directly to your inbox every week, then go to shorttermsage.com/show notes. With all that being said, on to this week's conversation. Hey, welcome back, Host Nation, to another episode of Short-Term Rental Success Stories. In today's episode, I have got the special honor of speaking with the one and only Mr. Alvin Cavalier. Alvin, would you please introduce yourself, let the Host Nation know who you are and what inspired you to get into short-term rentals?
Hi, everybody. I'm Alvin, as introduced by Julian. It's a pleasure and an honor for me to be on to speak to not only Julian but his audience and share some of my experiences in short-term rentals over the past 18 months. Long story short, I've been into real estate over the past 7 or 8 years, and more recently into short-term rentals. And like everything else in life, I stumbled upon it by coming across a real estate agent in New York City who was doing Airbnb, and she opened me up to some opportunities to get into the short-term rental market. And didn't take much to convince me. The numbers looked good. I saw the opportunity was there, understood what the market was doing and the direction it was going, and that was it. Got into the first property there with her, and then just started to expand out from there. And it's been a pretty decent ride. A lot of experiences to share since then.
All right, and I know you're trying to be humble, so I'll brag a little bit about you. But you've got 24 properties right now that you are managing. But the pretty amazing thing is that you're active duty Army, and you're. Is that something you not want to share?
I'm completely okay with it.
Okay, I thought you were making noises. I was like, oh, should I not be sharing that? No, I am going to be talking. I'm talking about that because that is just so cool. 18 years active Army, you're managing 24 properties. I mean, I don't even know where to start with that. I guess just to start, how long have you been doing this, managing these properties?
So roughly 18 months. First property went in around March last year, and it's just been a race to the finish since then. So,
you were saying that you because you also property manage, but you are also actively investing. The first property that you got was 17 months ago, or the first property that you started managing was 17 months ago?
Yes, very first property was actually 17, maybe 18 months. March or so of last year was the very first short-term rental investment.
And are you like purchasing these properties, or are you doing rental arbitrage? What's your kind of model with acquiring these?
Right. So great question. And I get this a lot talking to investors that are interested in Airbnb, but I do not purchase. And one, because understanding the tax benefits, and then two, reducing the risk and liability that goes along with owning. As I say, I like to own the taxes, but not the toilet. So my motto, under the guise of property management, I rent homes from homeowners and sublet them. And then what's unique about, at least in my mind, what we do is that I offer homeowners what I call a lucrative offer. So a minimum of a 36-month lease. In some cases, most cases, the leases are 5 years. In some cases, location dependent, homeowners will get a seven-year lease agreement. In exchange for that, one, they get to focus on building equity and appreciation in their home, and then we manage the property. And understanding that a lot of what property managers do, it's inherent within the short-term rental business. So you've got a platform, whether it's VBRO or Airbnb, and a lot of those services are right there, right? So the second key point to that is you save the homeowner anywhere from 8 to 10% a year in property management fees. So a long-term lease agreement followed by in-house property management allows homeowners to essentially eliminate rental and tenant inefficiencies and get some stability, and then also the prospect of having a home that's cleaned 2 to 3 times a week. It's also very inviting because they know that the backbone of a short-term rental business relies on its ability to be clean. It has to be as advertised in order for it to work. So once you tie those three things in together, and then that's essentially built into now a script or an email that goes out, it becomes a very attractive offer for homeowners that are looking to rent their homes.
Man, that you are a smart guy, Alvin. That is pretty unique because as part of like a rental arbitrage business, you're going out there, you're pitching landlords, and kind of one of the things that made me think is like, okay, well, if they're not open to rental arbitrage, maybe they're open to property management. But from the property management standpoint of, hey, if you're looking to increase your income, and kind of like my pitch is like, hey, if you're looking to increase your income, then I can help you do that by managing your property for you. But what you're saying is, hey, I'll manage your property for free under the condition that I can sublease it for you.
Absolutely. And that's what sweetens the deal, in my opinion. So one, you get a long-term lease agreement. And then two, we're not going to nickel and dime you because we're going to manage the property. And then anything that causes significant damage to the property that would affect, in my opinion, the property's value, then becomes an issue that the homeowners get involved with, and rightfully so. But anything under that, and really $200 to $300 in nature, we will take care of it immediately and in due course, because even if it's a refrigerator issue and you've got guests lined up and they may be staying for 10 or 12 nights, what are you going to do?
Wow. So you try to make it as hands-off for the property owner as possible is kind of what you're saying?
Absolutely. That was the goal, to give them complete confidence that the property will be taken care of for the next 3, 5, or 7 years. And the only time they'll hear from me is if there's a significant issue that I can't handle.
Oh my gosh, Alvin, I am just like so excited. And man, the two things that I kind of want to go from this is one big question is with rental arbitrage. Obviously, there is an issue, like if regulations change, and if you're getting into these contracts for 5 to 7 years or 3 years, I mean, a lot can happen in that time. Regulations changing all the time. Isn't that more of an, like, how do you handle a situation where maybe you're getting into a property and regulations do change? Do you have like some type of clause or a amendment that allows you to pull out?
Yes, absolutely. So there's a clause. We add several addendums into each lease agreement, and one being uh, if policies or ordinances change within either a neighborhood concerning HOA or a city in their ordinances, that we'll revisit essentially the terms of the agreement, and then potentially do a buyout of the lease agreement. But the first course of action with that, like any other real estate investor, we always start with an exit strategy in mind. So the first course of action really becomes to go from short-term rental to long-term rental. And then to a degree, there's got to be an understanding that short-term rentals will never become illegal. What becomes illegal may be how long you can rent them for, or maybe who has to be home at the time that the property is being rented. But to a degree, you can always change the numbers and still conduct short-term rentals. And then the exit strategy is really to go long-term rental, furnished or unfurnished place. And then if that doesn't work out, then we just revert to the addendum in the lease agreement to rectify things.
I mean, that is just such a sweet deal, and I love what you said. Is like you're a property manager underneath the guys, but you're really kind of doing rental arbitrage here. It's a sweet offer for the property owner, but it's even it's pretty sweet for you. What exactly is it? Because like if you're taking this full on, are you like paying for like lawn mowing? Are you paying like if the toilet gets clogged? Are you doing all of that stuff? Like how invested does a homeowner have to be? Is it more like a similar traditional property management, or what's the extent that you offer this?
Oh, they're completely hands off. So once the property's in my possession, then all those services, a handyman, a landscaper, if there's a pool guy, cleaning services, all those fall up under the contract, and then they're also included within the addendum, the short-term rental addendum, that I will provide these services as needed to maintain the property.
Wow. And you just take that as like that's the cost of doing business. So whenever you're analyzing a property, are you covering what the expenses would be into how much that property will re-rent for? So are you really strict about the properties that you are taking on then?
It depends, and the thing I'll tell you, every market's different, right? So whether it's New York, DC, Charleston, Savannah, or smaller towns like Columbus, Georgia, or Montgomery, Alabama, they have unique aspects about them that differs them from a Charleston. Not as popular locations, but they do better because the cost of rent's cheaper. And then both these cities, for example, Montgomery's outside of Maxwell Air Force Base. All of the Air Force's schools are at Maxwell Air Force Base. So those homes in Montgomery rent for about $950 for a 3-bedroom. Expenses come up to about $1,200 a month. But I house SOS students for 10 to 14 weeks at a time. Their per diem is around $6,000 a month. I'll only charge them a little bit over half of that for their stay. And yeah, if you sort of peel the numbers back, that's a significant profit on stays in that area. In Columbus, Georgia, it's very similar with the U.S. Army's basic training. here, along with a number of other schools: Ranger School, Pathfinder School, Office of Candidate School. So you've got a constant influx of families that come to Fort Benning on a weekly basis, and it allows, again, with the market having low rental rates for a 3 or 4 bedroom home, it allows you to really monetize the area without having high expenses.
Now, I want to go back to what you're saying before about the tax advantages of rental arbitrage, and a lot of the people that I speak to in the space, they say, it's more of a tax safe haven to be a property owner because of all like the ways that you can depreciation, the equity, you can pull that out, a bunch of different ways that all these people say property ownership is the way to building generational wealth and being able to be a tax haven. People say it's property is for the rich and that's how they use it to move their money around. But you're saying that there's more tax advantages to not owning and just using rental arbitrage. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so a bit of a disclaimer. Look, I still own properties that are traditional rentals. I think wholeheartedly not having all your eggs in one basket is a good thing. So not that it's bad to have traditional rental properties and gain depreciation over time for those properties. However, in short-term rentals, there's something very unique about the structure of a short-term rental, and I've got a great CPA from Shared Economy Services that has really taken me under his wing and helped me understand some of the benefits. And I'll just explain it here shortly. So with short-term rentals, right? A guest can leave you a review after each stay. Well, they have an option to leave you a review after each stay. That guest can complain about anything. Fried green tomatoes, you didn't have any milk, eggs, you didn't have ESPN the magazine. So their review directly impacts your ability to make money, period. So that's a gray line, or it's a gray space. But because when you understand the principles of taxes, one, it's either ordinary, everybody's doing it, or it's necessary in order to make a profit, right? So that's when that impact of short-term rentals come in. Right. So now I can provide milk, eggs, and honey and fried green tomatoes, Netflix, and ESPN the magazine to my short-term rental service, and everything becomes a tax deductible expense. Everything. So you go into an investment and you understand your fixed and operational costs, utilities, rent, your housekeeping services, your pool services, your landscaping services. Everything is a necessary expense in order to make a profit. So understanding that you move with passive income from Schedule E, which most of us did with traditional real estate, to Schedule C, taxed a little differently. However, the passive income reduces your W-2 income, right? So therein lies the tax advantage. And then you purchase items, especially with multiple properties that are depreciable items, all of your furniture, right? And it spreads out over time. So in totality, I won't go through tax numbers for that I had for last year, but I had a significant amount of earned income reduced through short-term rental losses. And as my CPA put it, the key is volume, volume, and then helps you understand once you hit a threshold. It also helps to understand structuring, being structured correctly. Most people will just start off with an LLC, but you've got to understand, depending on where you are and your goals, when's the best time to become an S corp, and what are the tax advantages to that. So several things there to dive into and to peel back, but on the surface, that's where the big tax advantage comes in. And by no means would I ever see that with traditional real estate, unless I'm doing a full-on fix or flip, and I've got a lot of expenses to go along with it. But on average, for a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, about the average size of the homes I rent, I'll estimate out about a $45,000 loss just to start it. So that's accounting for all of my startup admin costs, furnishing the place, and then estimating out my fixed costs over the course of the year. And then you're going to get your miscellaneous costs that come in over time to maintain a property. But again, so it fits into the second rule of taxes. It's necessary. It's all necessary in order to make a profit, and you can justify it because a guest can leave you a review that will directly impact your ability to make money.
So you believe that short-term renting is potentially even a better tax haven than just like purchasing a property to long-term rent?
I think so. And if it's 1, 2, or 3 properties, then maybe not. But again, so volume kind of gets you there, right? And then depending on how much gross income you have, or passive income earned from those investments, then you start to have a different conversation around the tax benefits and whether one's better than the other. I think there are a lot of factors that go into it, but you can certainly do very well from a tax perspective with short-term rentals.
I think for a lot of people, like including myself, taxes, when you hear taxes and you hear about write-offs and depreciation and all this stuff, it really goes over a lot of people's heads. But you really made it a point in this one before we even started talking, was the tax advantages of the rental arbitrage model. And I've heard it. I was just at a convention with finance people, and they're like, oh yeah, I don't know about that. Purchase property, and that's how you're going to build wealth. But you think that it's even a potentially better investment to do the short-term model because of how much you're able to write off, if that's what I'm understanding.
Oh, absolutely. And again, so on the surface, look, the 24 or so listings are what's managed directly or indirectly right now, but there's been about a total of 36 investments that I've been involved in total. So understanding all of the costs, the expenses that go into either monetizing a listing as an investment, or doing an end-to-end setup for a property. And remember, so estimate out about 45 grand per place, right? That's a lot of loss. And quite frankly, it'll reduce your taxable income pretty significantly when you have that much loss in one calendar year.
And are you able to actually get a return on your taxes, or is this just really kind of helping cut the blow of what you could be potentially making?
Absolutely. I still received a return. So the way I see it is my losses offset my taxable income, and then my net profits essentially were not touched, and then I still received a tax return. So at the end of the day, I think I walked away in pretty good shape after year one. So year two should be even better.
Now, where would you, because I mean, taxes, it's such a thing that like, it almost seems like, money magic, there's all these wizards in the back that are crunching some numbers and figuring something out. But, you're basically kind of, telling the audience, it's like you can run this business and it's not going to put you in the hole. Where do people maybe start to be able to learn, or how do you even find someone? Like you said, you found someone that could kind of take you under their wing to help you with this. How do you learn about this stuff to be able to best set yourself apart?
So I think now there are a number of online resources. Learn Airbnb, Airbnb Automated. There's some good content on YouTube, and even with myself, I've hosted a couple of meetups to talk to people. But a part of it becomes how do you essentially cross the line? So you'll have investors that are cash ready. They understand real estate, but sometimes or most times I find it hard to talk to investors about the concept of hosting a place remotely and setting up services, systems and processes and services to make the business run. It becomes a daunting task for a lot of people to get past.
Right. And I want to get into the remote hosting because that's something that you are doing. But I wanted to touch on the tax specific, because with short-term rentals, you said that you did find someone that understood about the short-term rental model and how to be able to maximize your tax savings on that. Where do you find people in this space to be able to help you with that? Because did you have all this prior to getting into this business that it would be so tax advantageous?
No, so I won't say I went in blind, but after about the third or fourth property, one of my business partners, we started to talk about taxes, and we just upon doing some online research, we came across a company that specifically focused on the shared economy. So folks that are out doing Uber, Turo, Fiverr, Upwork, Airbnb, and then we reached out and got into to their program, and that was essentially it. So paid for an on-ramp program, which is sort of a one-on-one deal to really deep dive into to your efforts and do some accounting work ahead of the upcoming tax season, and that was it. So those personal one-on-ones, it really brought light to something I've always believed in, that taxes are the center of gravity, period. And you can have a successful or you can't have a successful investor without that investor understanding taxes or having someone on the team that really understands taxes. Because it's as simple as if you're not structured properly, then you won't get the tax advantages that come with it. So if you don't understand that, then you're going to be giving away more money than you should be, and that's where having a dedicated and good CPA comes in and pay dividends for me.
Yeah, and that really turns the ball, because a lot of people they think, okay, I've got a profit and then I'll think about the taxes when I get to that point. But you're saying no, it's all about the taxes, and then you figure out how you're going to profit
before any new investment comes a fireside chat with the CPA to understand how it's going to have us position down the road. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then I want to, what would you say for someone that is getting started into the space, how much of the tax work are you currently managing? Do you pass it completely to the CPA, or are you still using like these like tax tools to be able to find out what your expenses are, or deduct take the expenses? Like there's like mileage calculator apps and
Mm-hmm.
accounting software that puts stuff to different credit cards. What are you currently using for your systems with taxes?
No, great question. So we're all linked in through QuickBooks, right? So my account and everything that goes through it for tax purposes, and the bank account or the business account itself, the CPA has visibility on that. So they see everything, every transaction that comes in, and then as we prepare to do quarterly taxes and any fireside sessions that we have, they have all the data that they need to help make an informed decision.
Okay, and what else are you using to be able to track all these things?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
What else are you using? Because are you taking into account like mileage and all these other minor expenses, or could add up to be major expenses?
Right, I do use QuickBooks has a mileage tracker feature, and pretty much anything outside of the services that are set up, it's tracked through QuickBooks. So between the two, it really just provides a one-two effort to capture everything.
Okay, and the sharing economy. I know that you were talking about that. That's how you kind of learned about the tax advantages from getting into the sharing economy. Can you talk a little bit about how you are utilizing the sharing economy, and that analogy that you explained to me before the interview about how you view short-term renting?
Yes. So when I think of Airbnb and short-term rentals, I equate it to being the quarter pound meat on a hamburger, and to me the central question really becomes how do you tie in shared economy services to Airbnb and really start to monetize the other platform within the shared economy. So we had a property out in Atlanta, and just an experiment of sorts. But the idea was we wanted to make a guest trip, a preponderance of it in the shared economy. So what we did was provided a lift from the airport to and from the airport for the guests, Turo rental car at the property for the guests, and business credit to Peerspace for them to get out into town and do some work outside of the home, and then a lift back to the airport. So although an experiment, it really helped validate the whole idea and question that you really can make a hamburger out of with Airbnb being sort of the central point of the shared economy, and with all of the other shared economy tools and platforms that exist. The question becomes how do you tie those into Airbnb? And I think we're just starting to scratch the surface of where this can go. And I'm excited for one to venture off into it.
Now, I think that is, just a super unique, because I definitely see that being the future. People that need to do work, they'll get a place, the car, everything will be like you said that you were utilizing Turo, which for those that don't know, it's basically like the rental arbitrage model, but for cars. And some people are really diving into that business model, like full on. But you use that as another aspect of what makes your property unique. But I guess the big question would be, that it seems like that's a lot of work, scheduling the drive, getting the car there. Now you're getting into a whole nother business where you're subleasing cars, and now you have this like space, this co-working space that you're also giving credit to. Those are all expenses that do add up. So how does that work into your profiting model? Are you, how does that work?
Right. So the weird part of it is because they're all separate platforms. Everything's separated. So again, each line of effort's captured under the business account. It's captured through QuickBooks, and then seen and managed by the CPA team for bookkeeping purposes. So for me, really, it's about making sure the systems and processes are in place to make those efforts seamless. The backside of it, it's all handled through one account and integrated through QuickBooks, and the CPA has visibility for bookkeeping purposes. So it really has allowed a stress-free way to take care of those things on the surface without having to worry about the backside implications.
But for a system that you're trying to scale and make automated, did you see that doing that type of total sharing economy for that property, is that something that is easily scalable, or is there a whole lot more coordinating? Is it in the end, was it really even worth it?
I think so, because right now you'll have guests that spend a preponderance of their time in a shared economy, but they've got to use different platforms to do it. So even though they had to use different platforms, in a sense, we sort of eliminated some of that by providing some of those services internally with the scheduling and the management of it, at least initially on the surface. But didn't require a lot of work because obviously the vehicle was there, the keys were inside the place, the credit was there, and it was passed digitally, and of course Lyft, you schedule it, it shows up, you hop in, and that's it. So on the surface, I'd probably say an extra 10 minutes or so worth of work to tie everything in.
So I can see that that being pretty basic. You have this property that you're renting out, subleasing. You have a car that you are probably subleasing, I imagine, and then just re-renting that on Turo, and it just sits at the property. But what do you do because now that's like two separate businesses almost, because obviously if the guest isn't going to be staying, if the guest isn't going to be driving anywhere, or maybe they already acquired a rental vehicle, now you're having to manage a car as well.
Well, I wouldn't say having to manage it. If it's not used, then it's not used. But guests get an automated guest form when they book, so they have an opportunity to say whether they're going to come in with a rental car or they need one. So that's known ahead of time, and if the guest for that period of time didn't need a vehicle, then it would be open for public use. So just for that period of time. But it's easy to align the calendars that you have availability, at least first availability for guests that are coming in.
And obviously, is this something that you have? I'd love to maybe get you on another episode and talk about the Turo aspect and how you've been incorporating that, because I'm sure that there's a whole lot more to it, especially when you're trying to maybe do this at scale. Did you just do that on one property, or do you have multiple properties that you're also subleasing vehicles?
No, so it was just on one property there in Atlanta, but in honestly, we haven't really looked at it any further in any other markets, and and it's just due to some of the smaller markets like a Columbus and Montgomery, St. Petersburg, Savannah, Charleston. Most people drive in to those locations. So proximity to airports are key, and then key features of the city are also key. But if you look at Atlanta, it's a perfect location to do something like that, and it's just due to the sheer number of travelers and events that people get around to, and the lack of public transportation also plays a part.
So now not only are you maximizing profits on a property that you are managing and now subleasing, but you're also able to maximize profits on a car that you are also. So and that's kind of where, going back to where you're saying that sandwich, you're looking at the home as being the hub where you're going to be getting the majority of your business, and then the business it kind of, you can add to that different layers through these different services that you're offering. So you're managing multiple properties in these remote locations. How many locations would you say that you have properties in?
So right now, about 10 different states, about 14 or so different cities.
Now, one of the things that comes to mind is like a lot of times when people are getting into new markets, they want multiple properties in specific locations. Are you just picking up anybody that is looking to have their property managed, and you'll go into that market even just with one property?
No, so there's some research and analysis that goes into where the messages go out to homeowners, and after that's done, then those targeted messages go out, and then once homeowners respond, then we've got essentially a pool of selectees, and then you sort of deep dive a little bit into the specifics of that location, and then some specifics of the home before making a selection. But a lot of that's driven also by price. So we'll get a range of acceptable rental rates that we can potentially negotiate on with a long-term deal also.
So walk me through the process of when, because do you have a VA or someone that's sending out these messages? Are you identifying the location first? Are there like specific areas that you're looking for? Kind of walk me through the process of from that one that you've identified that location to you acquiring this property, and then finding the people that can also maybe manage that or clean that unit.
Right. So I've got a small team, also Army buddies, and a good buddy of mine, Myron, as well as a virtual assistant that assists the other team. So, there was an initial analysis in terms of locations, and there's so many out there, but some of the focus has really been military towns that have very unique events, schools that bring in consistent population. So after that, what happens is, again, so there's about 3 messages. They all say the same thing, but the one's like super long. It includes like frequently asked questions that we've kind of garnered over time to help answer some of those questions up front. There's a mid message that kind of gets a little bit into the why and the how, and then there's a shorter message that just sort of puts a teaser out there for homeowners. But once those messages go out, we get responses back. What happens? We'll schedule a 15-minute consultation call just to answer any questions. But what I'll tell you is 9 times out of 10, if someone's read the message and they respond, they move the ball inside the red zone, right? So then it's just a matter of how do we get them across the goal line? And again, so that comes with helping them understand what we're doing, what we're asking for, and then a short conversation on the numbers to make sure things make sense for both parties. And then once everything's agreed upon, we'll do an initial look at my short-term rental addendum, and then their lease agreement, and then and then once that's agreed upon and a start date, everything else sort of gets into motion in terms of the logistical aspect of setting a place up from end to end and starting to procure services in any one of those areas.
Now, are you, because these are a lot of locations, I don't imagine that you're flying out to every single place and building these units out yourself. How are you doing this?
Right. No. So again, another aspect of having dedicated teammates, interior designers and planners. We also use home stagers in any given area, typically sourced through Thumbtack. We'll do a little bit of research, background check, and then just get them the information they need to get started, access to the property, and then they just work based on a schedule and a automated to-do task list that we set up through Microsoft To Do. And really, it becomes that simple. We're working off a shared document, and then they're sharing progress all the way down to completion. And then typically we'll have someone on the team that'll go out and do what we call sort of the level 3 check, which is tying everything in together. And really it's just a one-day look to make sure everything's working, it's right, and the place is primed and ready for the professional photo shoot and video shoot before going hot.
You're doing a video shoot and photo shoot with these properties?
No, absolutely. It's a must for marketing purposes. We get a short 30 to 60 minute video out that's editable or usable. I'm sorry, on social media to get out. So yeah.
You keep throwing out things that I could just keep on going. We could just go deeper and deeper down this well, but we don't have enough time for that. So, man, but we'll have to get you on another episode because that is wild. The whole video and your marketing efforts. But I want to go. What about cleaners? How are you vetting cleaners? How are you getting reliable cleaners remotely?
Yeah. So initially, all work is sourced through Thumbtack, and what we found over time is we can interview 10 different house cleaners or 10 different professional services, but at the end of the day, the quality of the housekeeper, in my opinion and based on my experience, really comes down to a key question. If they're doing it to pay bills and to earn a living, then they're willing to become a part of the team and do a good job for you. So now we source locals to be the primary housekeepers, and then a professional service or another local housekeeper to serve as an alternate. So there's some redundancy built into the housekeeping aspect of it, but the other part of it too is so you hire a housekeeper, but then you transition them into essentially a property manager and a teammate, right? Because they get the first look at the property. We set up a very specific task list with housekeeping guidelines that give them sort of hey, when you walk in the door, you're going to go through the living room and check for A, B, C, and D. Walk out the back door, check the pool deck for D, E, and F, and so forth, so on. So we get that full-on property manager walkthrough before they start cleaning, and then once the cleaning is complete, photos of each of the main areas. That they send back a completed report through the Your Porter task app. And then that initiates the payment through Venmo or Cash App or whatever they're using.
And how much are you paying your cleaners who you put them into the roles of property manager? What's the property management fee look like for them?
So, so so they're house cleaners with the property manager's role, but that's not necessarily. I won't say that that's on the surface of what they understand their role to be. But again, so this becomes more about being a teammate and being vested in the success of the property and the reviews that come along with it. So markets vary, right? So Savannah, it's got a housekeeper that only gets paid $50 per clean. Into New York, where you've got $100 per clean and so forth, so on. So each market varies. They differ, and then those that have booming short-term rental markets, you'll typically find a lot of stiff competition for good housekeepers, and you'll typically pay a premium. But really, at the end of the day, you can't really put a price tag on having a good housekeeper that's dedicated to what they're doing for the team. And the small things like any business, and I'm sure you and a lot of people have done small things like this before, but just sending out gift cards, thank you notes, thank you cards for their work and their service always pays a huge dividends when you've got to give them a call on a day off to rectify an issue, if need be. They'll come out and help take care of things for you.
So you're finding you find a primary cleaner and a backup cleaner, and the primary one, what, do you have them going full time, or is it just like a part-time thing?
So initially, the first 90 to 120 days, what will happen is we will alternate between the two, and then one moves into a primary role. And the idea is really that they both get real-time experience and enough experience to understand all of the nuances that are associated with that property. And then what comes out of that and what they help us build is a frequently asked questions automated message for that particular property. So that typically happens after about 90 days, where through either what the housekeepers see or get, and then questions that we get, we'll build out a frequently asked questions. We'll throw it into the automated messaging tool, and it'll go out with the initial message before the guests check in.
So your cleaners are actually managing the messages as well?
No, they're just helping contribute to those frequently asked questions that are built just based on their feedback.
What type of feedback are your cleaners getting? Are they getting it from like the guests directly, or are guests leaving notes, or how does that work?
Yeah, in some cases it varies. Like in New York, the housekeeper typically gets in right as the guests are leaving. So she has sort of a small script that she'll ask very specific questions about the stay, any issues or concerns, and that small interaction helps provide feedback for us, and that's what's sort of encouraged, because the guests are going to leave and they're going to provide you with a review. If you can have some of those questions or concerns maybe answered prior to them departing, it always helps in what they're doing when they're behind the keyboard typing a review. And then sometimes you can potentially interdict with a message based on feedback from the housekeeper prior to the review period.
And how are you going about finding these people that are looking to have their properties managed? Are you just going on like Zillow and finding everybody that has rentals and picking out the ones that you like? Or are you sending out a mass email? Are you putting out ads on Facebook? What are you doing for that?
So Facebook Marketplaces has provided some very unique opportunities. Zillow, Trulia, all hot pads. Each of those, you can get into a filter that allows you to search specifically for rent by owner. And then once you get into that population, then you set your filters based on what you're looking for, understanding market averages in terms of rent, understanding what exactly you're looking for. You set the parameters in terms of house size that you're looking for, and once you narrow the field down, then the message goes out to those homeowners.
Wow. Alvin, I could keep on just asking so many questions, but I've taken up a lot of your time. So we do have to wrap this up. Would love to maybe get you back on in a future episode to talk some more, because I can, this for the people that are listening to this is a very unique episode, from a very unique strategy, a very unique standpoint, coming from a guy who's full-time. Definitely, you're going to want to listen to this episode again. There's so much that you can take away from this to be able to apply that to your business, and just the uniqueness of this space. I think, Alvin, you're one of the first people that has kind of applied these different strategies into this model, because usually a lot of people, they just go in and they're just like co-hosting, or they're just like rental arbitrage, or they're just like, whatever, however they're acquiring properties. But you've blended this all into this very unique way. And for the people that glean over this episode and find it, that they are really finding a golden opportunity here. So really, last question that I really kind of want to ask, because I've gone completely off the script. All the questions that I did have, I didn't even ask one of them. I didn't even ask any one of my questions. But one question that I do want to ask that I think is really key is, what would you do differently if you had to start from scratch?
That's actually a great question, and I think as I talk to my partners often, it really comes back to building systems and processes to support the things that are happening every day, and to a degree, for any host out there, you can understand that things can become overwhelming if you're involved in it. So the thing I'd tell you is to set up and operate one as if you're operating 100. If you do that, it forces you to build systems and processes within your one, that when 2, 3, and 4 come along, it's just plug and play at that point. And then that gets you to a point of efficiency. And then once you begin to get the right help to support that, then it allows you to focus out and up in terms of more in terms of acquiring than actual day-to-day work.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, to what's going on in your brain, Alvin, for the scalability of this, where you plan on taking this? What do you have in the future in mind?
Yeah, I think really cracking the code on the shared economy, because I think it's so interesting. All the different aspects of the shared economy, and how people are monetizing shared economy services, and really just the thought of a single platform that allowed you to provide reasonable shared economy services to a short-term rental stay. It's really something that I'm itching to figure out, and it's exciting to think about it. It's exciting to at least scratch the surface of it, and I'm dedicating a lot of brain power and time into thinking about how to make it right and provide some value to it.
Very cool. Very interesting. Very super interesting. Love this conversation. Very unique, very different. But thank you so much, Alvin, for coming on the show. Just so much to be able to take away from this. Again, if you go back, listen to this episode again, there's so many things that maybe you can apply. Maybe you don't have to apply everything. Alvin's doing very unique things in a lot of different aspects, managing properties remotely, the way that he's acquiring properties. But you don't have to do everything. You can take certain pieces and apply it to your business and see if that works. But again, thank you so much, Alvin, for coming on the show. And until next time, Host Nation, keep on hosting. Hope you hosts benefited from the show. If you found value, please go on over to iTunes, leave us a review, and let us know what you enjoy about the show. If you'd like to talk to hosts that have been featured in these episodes as well as the community, go on over to our Facebook group, The Host Nation.